We already did an introduction, but the audio didn't roll. But I guess you have a second shot now
All right.
at
My
introducing yourself again. You don't get second chances.
my name is Brandon, aka Plantcham, and I make beats and I love sound, and I love plants.
Boom. Yeah.
Boom.
You set that up for us.
I did. That's a snake plant. That's my first plant, actually.
That's your first plant?
Yeah.
Why is it called a snake plant? A person that's plant illiterate. Like,
Why is I'm actually pretty illiterate myself.
you just aesthetically find the color and the plant itself.
No, so the reason I got a snake plant is because you could basically put that shit in your closet and it'll thrive. So it doesn't require and you can like not water it for like 5 weeks and it's fine. It's a thriving plant. It's like a good household beginner plant.
Yeah.
I just started like getting into that, and also the main reason why I got it is because like it helps out with like air quality.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh shit. I guess all plants sort of do.
No, yeah, they
In a
do.
way.
Yeah, they do for sure. Snake plants are specifically known for that.
Word.
No.
Yeah.
They're a succulent plant, so like they can like thrive in dry, wet, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, you said a closet, so that's crazy.
Dry mainly, yeah.
It's like you throw them in the closet one day and the next day it's just wrapped around your fucking clothes, just taking over.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. I've been, since moving out too, like with the roommates, we were talking about getting some plants too.
Yeah.
It helps with the liveliness of just the space, you know, just having that extra green. Like my old bedroom I didn't have any plants other than a fake plant, which looked fake. It was a little small thing in a gray, like fucking base.
Vase
and it's like, yeah. And then it was just like this weird, like neon green hue to the fakeness of it. But it looked kind of pleasant, you know? That was the only greenery I had in my room. It's the only light of like nature.
I feel like it really lightens up, like livens up the atmosphere you're in.
Yeah. If
Definitely.
you have like even go further, you got like fucking bamboo and you got shit like on the
No,
ceiling.
yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's the plan. Like,
for your
honestly,
room here?
yeah, no. I mean, just the plan in general, like, say, just to build out a space with a lot of plants. You know?
Hell
Like,
yeah.
that's like a future goal of mine.
Somebody walks
I'm, like,
in there,
still-
they'll feel like, oh, what the fuck is this? Like a safe haven or something.
No, yeah, and that's kind of how I wanted to feel.
Yeah, I already feel
A lot-
like
a
it's a
lot of
safe
plants.
haven with that snake
snake
plant.
plant.
That snake plant just blessing us right now.
I've never named the snake plant. I'm gonna name it now. Her name's Claire.
It looks
That's
like
the
a
first
Claire.
name. Yeah.
It kind of looks like a Claire. It's adorable. But yo, so sound, right? So one thing I wanted to talk to you about is the importance of sound in music videos, in film. We've worked together before on a project. What's that experience like to you when you're looking at a scene and you're trying to build a soundscape to it, a sound design? Like what's the process in your mind? Like how do you handle that? How do you manage that?
So it's pretty freeform. I don't necessarily like have a structured plan of how I go about building out a soundscape. But it definitely it's like a lot of trial and error. That's usually like how my creative process is, like throughout, like even in music, like making beats and, you know, producing tracks or even mixing vocals, right? Yeah. I usually like tend to stay away from like preset sort of thinking or like not preconceived, like just like, you know, just stock kind of sounds that are already there. I usually like to mess around and merge things and like twist knobs and like add effects until I get a certain emotion that starts to match with what I'm going for or whatever I'm feeling. So like in the case of doing like adding sounds to motion, it'll be like, okay, let's add this in there and see if it sounds cool. And then like, oh shit, like that sort of sparked an emotion for me to continue down that path. Like the best way I can explain it is if like I'm opening a bunch of faucets, right, until I find like the right flow, and then like that first initial flow that I get into, like I'll start to open like the other sub faucets, and then I just kind of trickle down. And
You just get in depth.
Exactly. Yeah.
You just get in depth to it.
Is it like that for you when you're shooting, or do you have to have like everything super planned?
It is kind of like that, where there's a lot of like, while fleshing out a scene, discoveries like within the scene and fleshing out, you know, in terms of the shot list too, where you're just digging deeper into the scene and figuring out the best ways to like convey something with a different angle or different lens, like tight or wide or tracking or longer, like a longer shot, and then what's the next shot. So in a way, it's kind of like that, but it's more like clips and pieces. Like for sound, I think it's like this. It's this bed, right, where there's so many things going on while the shot is happening. That's the shot, you know, and there's intricacies that go into that. But with sound, there could be like these little things that you don't even hear really, but it's just like building that like bottom under bed or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm curious to know, like, do you have a favorite movie? Are you big into movies? Do you have a favorite movie in terms of like something that captivated you in that way? Like, I could tell you mine, but I want to hear yours first.
I would say, I mean, I'm not big on movies. Like I haven't watched much. But from the very few that I have watched, I would say like anything Lynch related, I love the way he utilizes sound.
Yeah, well, that's a perfect, I think, example to like show what you're talking about, where it's really experimental. We were talking about Eraserhead before, like the sounds in that, like specifically, like, do you remember that scene when he's in the living room with like the family? I think he's like visiting his girlfriend, the main character.
Yeah,
and they're like eating that dinner with like the weird turkey, the fake meat that just started like bleeding or some shit.
Oh yes, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all those sounds. Like, do you remember the sounds that you would hear? You hear like clinking, because it's like a very industrial environment. So even though you're in this living room setting, it's a weird ass soundscape.
Yeah, and I think when you have those two elements like contrast and play with each other like that, the immersiveness of the experience you're giving like the viewers is like more, it's not more unique, but it becomes unique. You know, like I think when you're watching something silent, not to shit on silent movies, but I
don't shit on silent movies.
I wouldn't. I don't have that. But you see, like you probably, since you're like mainly like a video guy or like
I'm just joking. You can shit on silent movies. They're long done and gone.
They're boring, man. I can't get into them.
You can't get into them?
No, I can't.
They're tough. Yeah, they're tough when I mean, you know, you got to give it to them. Just the filmmakers of that day, just creating things, and then just usually there's an orchestra behind it, right? That's where I guess like music soundtracks even really began. They just like ding, 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 and the guy's like whoop-de-doo, and he's like fucking manic or whatever. Like Buster Keaton, I don't know if you know him.
No,
he's insane. He was like a stuntman / actual actor. He would just do his own stunts, but at a time where like there's no safety precautions. Like something big on Instagram is like one specific scene where he's standing waiting, and like the face of a house falls down, and then the perfect opening of that window is where he was standing. So the fucking thing falls, and he's just there, and he's like, you know, and it's not something there's no safety precautions there. It's just the whole thing fucking falls, and they measured it out for him to be at the right position. I mean, shit. If he was off, he's crushed. You know, he would have died. There's so many moments where he could have gotten clipped. It was crazy back then, man. But yeah, silent movies are very different. And I think the thing that I appreciate about them is definitely the incorporation of like music along with every movement that happens. Like when somebody slips, it just like, you know what I mean?
But that's still like incorporating sound. I'm talking like strictly like no, like nothing, just like it's silent. Just no music, just picture.
Just like the film, just rolling.
I mean, that itself is kind of like ASMR.
That's just
like,
the film.
Yeah,
that's just the film rolling.
But I wouldn't like hear that if I were to watch like a. Actually, I don't know. I haven't really like dove into just silent, like purely silent films.
Me either. I haven't dug. Being a media arts major from NGCU, there is like a study into that a little bit, but you know, it's like a point of reference in study, and then you're like, that happened, and then from there you could like go into everything else. You know, once sound came into play, I forget when. I think in like the 1920s or something. That's when, you know, that's actually funny when like sound came into play. How a lot of people realized, like directors and things, that some actors and actresses sound terrible, and they can't. Some people didn't transfer over to the sound age of film because they did not sound good. They could like be like, they could be like the facial features and shit, and like the music is playing along really well. Yeah. But then when they speak, I think Family Guy made a joke about it too. When they speak, it's like it's just like disgusting. They didn't sound good. And then it came in like the play of like, you got to memorize like dialogue now. And then some actors and actresses couldn't translate, and they couldn't make it over. So it was literally like a new age when like sound came into play for movies.
But I think that goes to show like how immersive sound is, and, you know, and like we don't really think about it when we're watching, just like casually. But if you pay attention to all the details, it really makes a difference in your experience, like with that product.
Yeah. No, we're definitely sensitive to sound to the point where we don't realize like the lead actresses and actors of today. I mean, music in general, right? Like Drake is the biggest fucking rapper, if that's
Yeah,
what he is,
he's
right?
probably
He's kind of like,
he's probably one of the biggest influences in music right
I mean,
now.
if you go on a Spotify, everything has 9-digit plays, like
Yeah,
600 million, right? Because
he
there's thousand, the 600,000, and then 600. He just has you
yeah
know. So, but he's like, he's got his fucking voice, you know. I was gonna imitate him, but it's not coming. And then just voice is so important. Voice is sound. Voice is so important. Kanye
Yep.
West, Jay-Z, like all these iconic people.
And the mix matters too. The mix, like his
Oh
engineers,
yeah, I
40,
mean, I
all
wonder
of
how
that.
trash they sound before everything really is like done. You know?
I mean, mind you, Drake has like a lot of singing lessons now, and he has definitely progressed,
Best I
over
ever
time.
had.
Yeah, but no, like engineers definitely should get a lot of credit for
Just get all the credit. I mean,
making that sound beautiful. Like, well, I mean, I'm not saying like engineers should get like all the credit, but I'm just trying to say that like
yeah, no,
the mix is very important when it comes to piecing together a piece, whether it be like a musical piece or whether it be like sound design
yeah.
for like
So
a film.
I don't know too much about that process. Like I've always seen like mixing and somebody mastering a song. Like what does that mean exactly when someone's like mastering a song or mixing it down or something like that? Like what's
So I have like my own agenda on that. I would say from my understanding though, mastering is just the stage of where you're getting the levels right. You're
yeah
not really changing anything about the mix. Certain engineers probably do like add a little bit of saturation or like color to a mix to make it pop out more. But it seems to me that it's a very like it's also very freeform in that regard.
Hmm.
The only thing that's objective is that make sure the levels are right. So when you upload it to Spotify, nothing's compressed. When you upload it to YouTube, when you upload it to like a digital, like any digital streaming platform, when you put it on vinyl, when you put it on CDs, there's like a specific like meter for like sound decibel like levels and like what should be what's appropriate, what's industry standard.
like the set requirements
Exactly,
to put
like
into these things.
so like from my understanding that's like what mastering is about. But other than that, there's so many things you can like say like, oh yeah, like this, like it's so like free because like things could be done in the mix. Like if the mix sounds fine, then what do you need a master for?
Yeah.
Like what changes? I feel like it's like now it's getting tricky. There's like a fine line between
It's
like
getting like more narrow, where
yeah,
where like a person could just master themselves when before it was like this whole thing that you
exactly because
hand
like
off.
because of everything becoming so digital and like all of these plugins are reaching like analog standard,
Mm.
and like all of these like DAWs, like digital audio workstations like Ableton, FL Studio, Logic, GarageBand, whatever, they're becoming so advanced that you can just master with a set of headphones and a laptop in your room.
That's great.
You don't need a studio to
Yeah.
master. There's actually a project. It's pretty popular. It's by Gali Matias and Alina Baraz, Urban Flora. That was
I haven't heard it.
you probably have it. It's like more under like the pop realm,
Hmm.
like experimental pop. But that whole project was mixed and mastered by Gali Matias, the producer, and I think it sounds incredible. And he did it on a pair of headphones, the exact same headphones I'm wearing, actually.
Is that why
So
you got those?
that is exactly why I got them.
The inspo, huh? A quick
Yeah.
plug. What headphones are those again? You
It's
told
the
me.
Bayer Dynamic DT990 Pro. Yeah.
Which comes with what is this, like noise canceling? I see like the padding just like
No,
blocks off any nagging from people, right?
no, actually these are more like mixing headphones.
I see.
So these
Okay.
are open cans. Open cans is like when like sound is gonna bleed through. Like if I crank the levels on this, right, you'll hear things bleed through. So they're not good for tracking vocals, Like say if I'm gonna record, because then you'll get that bleed through when you're recording. So closed cans are the opposite,
I see.
essentially. Yeah, these are just great for mixing because of the open cans, like you really get a good depth of stereo field and like levels.
Headphones get intense, man.
They do. They do.
You would say this is your favorite pair,
This is my favorite pair so far.
and you would recommend if you're like a beat producer
I would definitely recommend this. Yeah, for sure.
and you use it obviously now and you use it for your own music.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your music a little bit, man. Do you have main influences, or you've kind of gotten into this realm of chill lo-fi on your own accord?
I mean, I think I'm influenced regardless of whether I think I'm
We all
I'm
always
not.
are,
Yeah,
right?
we're always influenced, right? I don't think anything's necessarily like unique or original.
Just those
um,
silent movies.
You know,
That's
like
no.
it's still it
Just
still
kidding.
exists today. Like we still take inspiration from it.
No,
You know.
100%.
So everything, all ideas are bouncing around, but my influences are, yeah, like lo-fi. I really like low fidelity kind of sounds, like Adult Swim. Like I remember
Adult
that
Swim
really,
bumps.
yeah, Adult Swim bumps that really stood out to me as a child. Just like hearing the instrumentals, like Flying Lotus is definitely a big inspiration.
You know Tycho.
Tycho's dope. Yeah, yeah.
It's
I,
one
I
of the
really,
ones I
I
remember.
really like Tycho. I would consider him like more like ambient. You know,
True,
ambient,
yeah.
like
It's
chill.
more. It's more like atmospheric, I guess.
Yeah, atmospheric. I really like atmospheric shit. Um, Damn, there's this Japanese artist. I can't remember his fucking name.
There's so
but,
many.
Yeah, but Brian Eno is a big one. Brian Eno is considered like a godfather of like atmospheric or ambient like music.
There's something about ambient music that I really enjoy. It's like relaxing, but also it's got that like instrumental to it that you can still sort of like bop to.
Yeah.
Specifically, your sort of music, which I've always liked. It's just so relaxing, but also there's like a sense of nostalgia. Does it sometimes like pain you making certain beats or music? You know, where you're channeling like a feeling or a part of yourself.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Talk
That
just
no,
talk
no, no,
about
no.
that
I'm
process.
glad. I'm glad that you said nostalgia because like I've noticed that whenever I show people like my music and they would describe it to me, they would always say like, "Ah, it makes me feel kind of nostalgic," and I wonder where that's getting channeled from. Like I don't purposely like think like, oh shit, I need to make something nostalgic. I just think like probably my sound choices and everything that I like piece together,
Yeah.
it just comes off as nostalgic.
Well, I know there's certain chords that like I title them as like sad chords. They're like
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like A minor or something like that
Yeah,
in
yeah,
terms of
yeah.
like guitar or piano or whatever. And there's these certain chords that automatically channel that feeling in your head, like of like reminiscing on something or thinking back. Or it's a strange thing that happens in the mind when you hear like just music in general and how it affects you. But yeah, do you incorporate a lot of like minors? Is that what it is? Minors. Let's be careful with. But we're talking about music. We're talking about music.
It is minors. I do dive into theory a little bit. I'm not like the most like well versed in it.
Yeah,
but
you don't need to know theory too much to
yeah,
make
yeah.
some
I
bomb
feel
ass
like
music.
I feel like it's just the feeling initially. Like theory is just a great way to describe it to like understand what you're doing.
Totally.
But
Same way for film. Like understanding theory goes a long way.
Yeah.
With like subliminal messaging, with framing and what you have in the frame.
Like the rule of thirds, I would assume is like very popular within the visual world, right?
Yeah.
Like making sure things are like lined up on that.
Yeah, but that's more of like
focal
a
point or
standard like
something.
applicable rule of like photography and filmmaking.
Yeah.
It's not too much into theory actually. Theory is still that like studying deeper within meanings and context, but rule of thirds is like that thing that everybody should know when getting into the field.
I got
like
you.
leading
Yeah.
lines, like in your frame. Like if I'm like capturing you,
Is that not like a fundamental like visual aspect though that I would
It is.
consider that like some sort of theory, because
Is it? I
some
guess,
people
yeah.
some people aren't aware of that. That's something that I definitely like because I used to paint and draw, so
Mhm.
the rule of thirds definitely came up a lot in like theory classes.
I see.
Yeah.
I thought it was more of like a practice rather than like like theory applied. But that's just like I guess how I see the word theory.
Okay. I got you. Yeah, I actually don't know much about like film or video theory, so I mean, I would like to like
Oh,
learn
me
about
either.
that.
I just know what I know. I just know from like NJCU and shit, learning from there, and then mostly going hands on with things like getting out of the college. That's where the real knowledge comes out. Once you're just in the field and you're managing projects or you're a part of projects in a certain way. But yeah, man, those are important things to know.
Yeah, but back to minor chords.
Yeah, we
Um,
sidetracked.
so the kind of chords that I would use, I find myself using a lot of major ninth chords, right? So it's actually more of a happy sound.
Can you like imitate that?
Uh, not
Just the sound
really.
of it.
Yeah, no, I don't know how to like imitate that.
No, it's
I
tough.
don't know the intervals.
Butcher.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
no
I have to like
worries.
play it out and feel it. But I use a lot of major ninth chords. I do use like minor chords.
Mhm.
Um, I think yeah, that probably has a lot to do with the moods that I'm setting. Because I feel like chords are very like emotively driven, especially like the type of progression you're using.
Mhm.
So the type of chord you use is a great indicator of like the type of emotion you'll get from a song for sure. And I think that goes hand in hand with the type of sound you use. You know, if you use a very harsh sound, like you can kind of make it like a major chord sound aggressive. You know, but if you're using a very soft sound, you can make a major chord sound very soft. You know, and like so
Yeah.
when you piece those two together, I think that's when you start to like have some sort of
Do you have
fun with like creating like a mood or
yeah.
like a soundscape for people to take in.
It's like the way these different instruments sort of sound. Do you have like a favorite sound right now in terms of like an instrument, like
Hmm.
keys, or is there something that you're connecting with more during this time period than you have before?
So I would say that like right now, I've been searching for sounds that like I like sounds where I don't know what I'm listening to.
Like you don't, you
It's
can't.
like it's
What
like
is
yeah,
it?
wait, it's not a piano, it's not an instrument, it's like just this weird sound, like these timbres and they're making
Twangy
out
sort of
notes.
something like.
You know, yeah, yeah, it's more like I'll definitely say it's more synth driven.
Mm-hmm.
Um but usually sounds that are not really like ones that you can discern, like I would be more attracted to right now. But overall, I would say like acoustic piano, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I love the sound of an acoustic piano. I love the Rhodes too, electric piano, and yeah, just like some classic synth sounds, classic saw wave, classic sine
Word.
wave. Very simple, you know. I feel like you can do a lot with that for
You're
sure.
and you're predominantly on SoundCloud, or are you?
Yeah, so I'm predominantly on SoundCloud.
What's
Yeah.
your stance on just being on these like different streaming platforms?
So as I'm more, I mean, like, yeah, I'm an artist. I think everyone that creates is an artist. But if I were to box myself in, I would say like I'm more of like a producer than I am like an artist that's trying to get their music heard or
Mm.
whatever. Or like society looks at me more of like a producer, right? So I think it's the game is a little different because as a producer, you can get away with like no Instagram, no music like on SoundCloud. If you just know the right people and are connected with artists, you can just have your shit heard
Yeah.
like through the artist, you know, because they're going to be the ones that are putting their music on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever.
Yeah,
But
so I guess it's somewhat of a word of mouth, but instead of word, it's like ear of mouth. Would you say? Because it's like
you're,
sound. It's like ear of mouth. So because now you don't have, so there's no online sort of presence, sort of right. This portfolio, right? That usually visually, I guess, is somewhat needed. Like on my end, I have like an Instagram. I'm getting on Twitter. I'm creating a YouTube, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
content. We need this content now. And trying to figure out how to basically get my name more out there. But then you're saying it's almost it better because you don't need those things to succeed, just because it depends on like the artist you're working with and how they're pushing their music, and from there it sprouts out.
yeah. So you can definitely get away with like, say, it just depends on how plugged in you are, you know. If you know people within the industry, like
That's true. Yeah, I guess that's
you
always the
can
case.
literally just be like someone in the studio with them engineering their projects or, you know, producing something for them and they'll put that on Spotify and you do the split revenue, and you got yourself a placement and
Bada bing, bada
you get
boom.
that money.
Damn.
Yeah. So that can be a route.
I
I
was
think
gonna
that's
ask,
I think
like,
that's way harder.
yeah, for sure. Anything word of mouth is pretty difficult
Yeah.
because then you're depending on sort of like a long term approach to getting your shit out there. But then obviously connections, like that's what makes it at the end of the day. Like a project I have coming out tomorrow, this artist Amber Lee, I got connected to her from this artist Raheem, and that's connections, So, and another project I have coming out end of the month, that's with an artist that I got connected from, Angel. And it's like that. I guess like that's like I actually have been playing through word of mouth for the most part, and
Yeah.
it's been sort of working, but it's also been pretty slow with the progression.
Yeah.
So what I was kind of curious about to hear like on your end is like if you had an idea like which streaming platform would be best for an artist to get more exposure, or does it even matter because each platform has such different audiences?
I mean, that's kind of a puzzle that I've been trying to figure out, like including just like with artists that I know and like how they're trying to push their music too. Um, it's so tricky because like anyone can set up an ad, like, and push their music now. And like you can just solely have like your music being pushed on Instagram and have like a link to your Spotify or something. And like, so there are certain producers that have gotten incredible exposure through TikTok.
Yeah, with the fucking things going viral, and if you're using like a song or instrumental,
Exactly.
that's like one of the main keys. That I guess that's one of the crazy benefits of all these apps and social media things.
So like I feel like
TikTok.
my best advice for trying to get heard as an artist is definitely adapting with the times and like really utilizing the tools that are given to us, like all these all of social. I definitely think social media should be a priority if you're trying to get heard.
Yeah,
For sure.
let's
Feedback.
so
Yeah,
so
so
we had an interruption there. But we're back.
was that
And
not recording?
nah. So we were talking about director DP and that relationship, and then you made the parallel of artist producer.
Yeah. So oh shit.
Oh, pick it up, no worries.
It's a fucking alarm.
Oh, for what is that?
So this is my alarm to go
Take a walk.
no.
You gotta make sure you got your walks. Is that a weird alarm to have? Oh boy, it's time.
No, I think that's pretty cool.
To remind yourself. Sometimes
Yeah.
you sit and you're fucking
I'm
working
like,
and
oh
you
shit,
forget.
I gotta take a fucking walk.
I'll be back. Cap
Yeah.
on.
Nah, that's just my alarm for picking up some squash.
A squash alarm.
Yeah, a full
okay.
box of squash, 30 pounds of squash. I'm serious.
Yeah, but how are you gonna transport that?
It's by walking.
Mm.
The fruit market is like right there.
Oh, word.
Yeah, so
They're closed soon? Is that why?
no, that's just the time the owner's gonna be there.
That's
I
your
like
squash time.
Yeah, that's my squash time.
You squash it with the owner? Get the
Yeah.
squash.
Spaghetti style.
All right,
Spaghetti squash.
And then, so you were saying about artist producer.
So, yeah, the director's the brain.
Try to talk more into the mic, actually.
So the director's the brain, and the fucking DP's the heart, right? And I would say it's the same thing with like artist producer. Artist comes in with an idea, or like say just like working with Angel, or like working with Chris, or working with like my boy Omar or my boy Zach. Like they'll come to me with ideas, and as a producer I kind of like manifest those ideas like based off of like whatever references or templates they show me. Like sometimes like my boy Omar, he would send me a beat that already exists and was like, yo dude, I'm trying to get like a soundscape like this or something. I'm just like, oh cool, like I know the technicalities behind how to achieve that. Same way like with the DP, I would assume like, yo, I know the lighting and I know the mood you're trying to go for. Like maybe like you bring Sid like a shot, like from a different movie, like, yo, dude, like I'm trying to get something like this, right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty
there's
sure
always
I'm pretty sure you already know how to do it, but like Sid probably like studies that shit like constantly. So you trust him, which is why he's your DP, in most cases. So and the same thing with artist producer relationship. It's like, yo, this producer knows like how to get the soundscape that I'm trying to go for.
yeah. There's
So
definitely always those references,
yeah,
and it usually comes first from the artist.
yeah,
Like when speaking about Angel and the song Desire, like we were talking for a little bit back and forth, and the main things we were looking at as references was the Sam Smith video, Dancing with a Stranger, right? Oh, what you made me do. Okay, I'm not gonna.
I actually don't know that song.
You don't know that
Nah, I
song?
don't. I don't.
And then there was another one, but that was like the main reference we looked at. So yeah, in terms of building like a visual, it does really start from like inspiration and references, and then we look at that together. And right, like the DP looks at something, whether it's a treatment or a reference or whatever, and already having an understanding of like how those things are created, we try to do it together. Of course, being constrained by like the budget of the production, because like Sam Smith, he has whatever the fuck Sam Smith has as a budget, very different for independent artists. So it's like, okay, we're looking at um this piece of art, this music video. How can we recreate that in a way that is affordable and it works within the budget? I mean, I honestly think we did a great job with that too. Shout out to Sid. But yeah, that dynamic is like important, and a lot of people don't realize that dynamic even exists. At least people like outside of the creative field or like new artists, they don't realize that there is a director and DP, and that's like the main difference between like more amateur work, where it's like people throw out the term videographer, but like that a videographer is just somebody, he knows how to shoot and use a camera. But it gets more complex when you're dealing with someone who's a director who knows like more of these layers of production, and the director of photography, which is the DP, who knows the complexities of a camera. And with that combination, that yin and yang, you'll get a better product, along with that crew that comes along. One person doing it all alone is tough. Like imagine an artist just like finding a beat and they're rapping. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, that's cool. But you just like kind of found a beat and rapped over it. It's like you had no control over like the product, really, like the sound of it. It's like you're getting your shit out there. That's cool. But what if you work with a producer? That person can create a sound for you more in your mood and in your branding and what you're trying to aim for.
Yeah.
Instead of the person just trying to do everything solo. And I think that's the main thing. Trying to have like that understanding of these roles, artist, producer, director, DP, and making that more known like worldwide, because some people really don't even realize, like when I mention DP, it's like, what's that? It's like, oh, it's the person that shoots. Oh, I thought you shoot. It's like, yeah, a little more complicated than that.
Yeah, actually, by you explaining that relationship today, like that's me figuring out, like, oh shit, I didn't know it was like that. I actually thought as a director, like you're also like in kind of in charge of shooting as well, or like
You're in charge of the final frame. Like you're everything is set up and structured by the DP, like in terms of lighting and camera, and it's all built from the references, and
yeah.
this original treatment,
But
whatever.
I think that's very important though, because like I'm thinking about just as a visual artist or you know someone who dove into that world for a good portion of his life, um, like lighting, color, value, like all of these things really play a big role when it comes to
Huge role, man.
building out like a mood, in the final product that you're trying to, push forward. And it seems like DPs are super important, man. Like
Yeah,
if you have like you could be a great director, but like a shitty DP is just
the
it just
ideas
won't
won't translate as well.
exactly, yeah.
I mean, when you're looking at a movie too, when you're looking at like Eraserhead, that's David Lynch, but then there's a director of photography who has shot that image you're looking at and built that frame,
That frame,
that
yeah.
composition.
So they're basically in charge of composition
Yep.
as well. And like, oh, like let's do this angle and let's
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
It's something that's done in cohesive, like with the director too, you know, if
Yeah.
especially if it gets deeper into where there's like storyboarding and shot listing involved.
Yep.
But yes, like the director has sort of the final say where it's like maybe this angle might be better, blah blah blah. And usually a director just kind of lets the DP do their thing, you know,
Yeah.
since that relationship is built over time, and you know there's a trust and understanding of whatever the concept you're
No,
going
for sure, for sure. It's
you
just,
know.
it's the same exact thing.
But
with,
it's everything.
like, with artist producer. You know, I would say the same. Like a lot of times, like in the studio with an artist, like yeah, I'll get some ideas like thrown at me. You know, it starts with the initial like artist idea, of course.
What's that like, by the way, when artists like, yo man, because like visual is visual, but sound is so different. Yo man, I hear train tracks and I want like a ocean floating in.
Trust me, I've
Like,
gotten
is it like
weird,
that?
I've gotten weird explanations.
Yeah, it's
for-
tough, huh? It's interesting.
Yeah, because it's like, all right, damn, they don't know how to speak in like the language that I know.
Just
you know?
language to it.
But I do my best to basically like, yo, okay, like he's saying this, let me try like these few things, and then like if it works out, then like, oh, okay, cool, that's what I'm talking about.
That's where the magic comes. Yeah, that's where your
Exa-
brain starts working.
Exactly. Or if they show me a reference, I'd be like, okay, perfect, I know exactly like what you're trying to tell me now. So references are super important in those moments of like
Yeah.
trying to explain. But then you have some artists that I feel like as an artist, if you're more well versed on the language and like the effects, and if you get a little bit behind like the DAW, or just like if you get a little bit into production, right? If you can bleed your knowledge into that,
Yeah.
it makes the relationship much stronger, for sure. I would say like the strongest relationship I have with like artist producer would be my boy Chris. He goes by Psalm, but I think something C4 he's trying to do now. But yeah,
He's
Psalm.
trying to change up his
Yeah,
artist name.
trying to change up his artist name.
That's
But,
always tough.
yeah.
Right? Like switching up names, you gotta like, because once you switch your names, like where did that guy go? Especially with social media, it's just like it's a weird thing where if you're not on the platforms, like where's that person?
Yeah.
It's a weird thing where it's like this.
And now you have to kind of like have them presented in your newsfeed all of
Yeah.
a sudden for you to be like, oh shit, like there was a name change all of a sudden.
Yeah, like me going with my middle name, Diego. A lot of people were like, "Wait, who's this I'm following? Diego? Who's Diego?" Obviously, a lot of people not
Yeah.
knowing that's my middle name. It's like it'd be super weird if I just decided to say, "No, my name is Diego" for no reason. It's like, yes, I am Diego. It's like, no, you know, that's kind of crazy, I think, but it's connected to that. But then, yeah, you deal with that like weird social presence online where it's like, where did that guy go? It's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
I've changed
it's
my
tough.
name on Instagram a few times, and it is like, wait,
It takes a second.
I thought you were like Brandon Pancham or like
Yeah.
Pancakes or whatever.
And now
had
you're
your name.
you're plantcham.
Now I'm just Plantcham.
Where
Yeah.
did that come from? Plantcham.
I'm sticking. So I've thought of that. I thought of Plantcham like a while ago. I'd say maybe a year into producing, I thought of it. But basically, I've always been into like holistic health and like plant-based nutrition. So and my last name is Pancham. So then I was just like walking. This is actually when I was at NGCU. I think it was around 2017.
When we were in
2018.
class. When we were in class together, remember that graphic
No,
design
no.
course. No.
No, because I wasn't even making music then, bro.
Word. You were squatting. I remember you talking about squatting. Yeah, you squatted
The
some
strong
crazy
lifts.
weights. And I was like, I was impressed. Like, bro, keep doing it. I remember that.
Into that, yeah.
I started working out too, like at the gym too, and I was like, bro, keep doing that. You'll do good.
Yeah.
You'll do good.
5x5s. I actually told Dimitri about the program I was doing. It works.
5x5.
5x5 strong lifts. So if you're focused on like trying to get stronger,
Build mass.
you do build mass, but that's not like the main focus. The main focus is like lifting more weight. If that's like where you're heading towards, 5x5 is a great like beginner program
Is
to
that
get you started.
Is that something to do with reps? Like 5 reps
Yeah, so
at your max?
exactly. So
at-
5
right?
reps for 5 sets.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
That's something that I heard
it's,
recently.
It's compound lifts only. So like you're only using the barbell for your workouts. You're doing like bench press, squats, barbell rows, and you're doing like deadlifts and shoulder press.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you got your like, I think did I say 5 lifts?
Yeah.
I think that's 5 lifts. So 5x5s. You know, it's a great.
I'm not sure if you did, but the video will tell. Yeah, no, that
Yeah.
sounds pretty extensive too. Is that
No,
the
no, no.
same? But that is like the same for each day you work out,
So
or is it
you're squatting
circulating?
3 times a week.
Okay, that sounds good because
Yeah.
the legs are neglected.
Yeah.
Like if you have one leg day, I feel like that's just not enough. Like I have one leg day, and I feel like everything else is sort of getting uh more toned.
Yeah.
But because of that, just one day, because you're always using arms and shit, but
Yeah.
legs are like.
No, you can
I'm just
definitely
afraid. I don't
you
want
can
to be a
definitely squat.
Dorito. I don't want to be a Dorito, man. I see it
The
at the gym
Dorito
sometimes. It's so weird to look
I
at.
think it's genetic too. Some people
You
just
think
have
so?
bigger legs.
Some people just don't fuck with leg day.
Yeah.
Some people are pussies. I'm a pussy.
But like sometimes it's hard for like, I feel like people like you and I, we have
'Cause we're tall.
our legs are just naturally skinny. You know, you
Calf
have, like,
implants.
yeah, we need calf implants to look
You
good.
down?
100%.
Next week, bro. I got no money, but let's do it. I gotta get these
I
calves
got the saline
for the ladies.
solution, and I got some needles too.
In here?
Yeah, we could do it here.
I'm not doing any sort of surgical shit in here, man. This is not. This is good for this, but
I could play
I'm not
some
gonna do-
ambient music in the background you
While
know?
it's happening?
Yeah, I feel
But-
like that'll help.
Oh, Dimitri's gonna be the one doing procedure while you're playing. It's not even like a
Yeah.
bit of your music. That's cool. Are you still working out though?
No, I mean I do like.
Oh, such a quick no.
No, I don't do weightlifting. I'm actually like no weightlifting.
You work out the mind. You meditate.
I do meditate. I do yoga.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do a
I'm
lot
trying
of
to
yoga.
I'm trying to do
And like
more yoga.
calisthenic like based work. So like push-ups, pull-ups, handstands, things of that nature. That's
Cool.
that's what I'm more into.
It's
Cuz like working out with weights, I noticed that my joints were just getting completely trashed. That's
like
because
worn out.
I had a history of like trashing my joints. Cuz I used to break dance, I used to like do gymnastics and flip. And I wasn't like necessarily warming my body up properly, and I wasn't stretching and taking the right care of myself. So I did fuck up my joints
Yeah.
at a very young age, and I had like a few injuries that I never like took care of, that I'm still like taking care of today. You know, and it's been like what 8-9 years, and I'm still having
Jesus.
like hip pain. You know, it's crazy. But yoga has been tremendously like helping me because I'm working on flexibility and movement, and you know, just more like it's like more practical for me. You know,
Yeah.
I don't
no,
know.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I agree. Because I did yoga for a short stint. It was mostly that my friend that like bought me a yoga mat and really introduced me to it, and it felt good doing it. And I guess it's like always just taking the time out in the day to do that. And I think the reason why I don't really do it anymore is because I'm like impatient. I think there's a lot of
It's pretty
there's a lot of
boring.
patience. Yeah, there's a lot of
I
patience.
can't
with
say
it.
that I have like the most fun doing yoga, but
But it's so good to like get in tune with your body, and you're hitting points in your like muscles that you don't with lifting. You know, like you
Exactly.
were saying, it's just like such a
Exactly.
aggressive. And
Yeah.
then with yoga, it's like, you know, you don't make that noise, but you're like, you know.
I think I think if you have both in the equation, it's a great balance, yeah, for sure.
I think that helps just too, because when I was doing it and I started meditating when I was quarantining too, like I was just thinking a lot clearer,
Yeah,
you know, and I was like more positive, and that did affect like my workflow too. Do you find like you're vegan too, right?
yeah,
You find like that combination mixes into your music too? With that
100%, 100%, definitely does. I feel like that's why I tap into a lot of like ambient music when
Word.
I'm like creating. I love
Meditative
ambient sounds. Is like a good foundation of where my mind usually like wanders while I'm creating shit. You know.
Do
I
you
gravitate towards that.
do you play your music when you practice yoga, or do you follow an instructor?
No, I don't follow an instructor. Sometimes I'll play music. Yeah, it's like 50-50. Sometimes if I'm feeling music, I'll play music. Sometimes I'll play with Cardi while I'm like doing yoga. I know that sounds so opposite,
Yeah,
but
that's interesting. Usually it's
You know,
like a
you're supposed to be like super calm and shit. Yeah, but like I'm always like listening to ambient music or like doing calm
Need a
shit.
break.
So sometimes a little bit of like just ignorant.
ignorant shit. Yeah.
Ignorant
What's your
shit, like,
go-to?
helps.
What's like your go-to artist in that perspective?
Um,
Like Future. You mess
No,
with
I don't
Future?
really listen to Future like that. The only like modern like trap artist I listen to is Playboy Cardi.
Playboy Cardi.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just started getting into him too, so you know, I actually fuck with his project Whole Lotta Red that came out.
Yeah,
It was supposed to be this like crazy thing. I think it's pretty good. So a lot of people hate it.
How many tracks is on it?
It's a good port. I think more than 15.
More than 15.
Around there.
Because I remember when Migos dropped their I forget what it was titled, but they had like 20 plus tracks deep or some shit. It just felt like a lot of filler with trap music too. It all kind of like, it feels like it all molds together into one sound, you know?
Yeah.
There's like no quality control sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
Like they let the hits come out. When Migos dropped that like Walk It Like I Talk It, I'm pretty sure was on that project. There's like a few tracks that like popped, but there's like no quality control. There's just like, here's like 30 tracks, you guys decide what the hit is, and then like, you know, you gotta just listen. It's like, oh, that's just fire. Like 10 songs in, walk it like I talk it, walk it like, you do yoga to that song?
No.
Migos, walk it like I talk it, walk it like I talk it, walk it like leg up and shit.
I mean, that'd be fun to do.
Yeah, why not?
I wouldn't mind.
It's the same, but that's the thing, I haven't listened to Playboy Cardi too much. So
Okay.
is that like louder bop, like pop?
It's very like, think of like
that
super
meant.
playful, like energy, playful hyper energy.
I gotta listen to him. I gotta check him out.
Sometimes he's just like, I don't understand anything what he's saying, but his
That's
cadence,
Future. I feel like
his cadence is like, it's pretty dope. Like, it's like, oh wow, this is pretty unique to me. Like, I don't really hear that like in a lot of trap music.
Word. How do you feel about BeatStars?
BeatStars?
Do you use BeatStars at all?
I have used BeatStars. Yeah, I have my music up there.
Would you recommend artists to get on there and put their music to the
Yeah,
song?
absolutely. Because you can like, the thing with BeatStars is, well, the thing with any like beat promotion platform or like beat platform is that you can buy ads and you can like have your shit like thrown in like the front page, or like you can have it like more seen, you know, and that increases your chances of getting your beats sold. I've done ads on BeatStars. I think my audience is not on BeatStars though. Like, I've used SoundClick, I've used TrackTrain and BeatStars, and out of those three, TrackTrain and SoundClick are the ones that have gotten me sales.
I never heard of those. SoundClick.
Yeah, so
and TrackTrain.
SoundClick is pretty old. Like, it's been around for some time. Have you heard of Bryson Tiller?
Yeah.
He references SoundClick in some of his lyrics. I can't remember the song, but definitely
cool,
like,
no, so it's definitely a platform that's
it's a
good
thing.
for,
you know, he's found some beats on there apparently. You know,
so it's not that old. When you say old, I think about like dusted books.
No, but it's been around for a while. That's
what you mean. Oh, I see.
It's
okay.
old. It's old.
Oh, so I'm ignorant for not knowing about
BeatStars is more new.
Right.
Yeah, I would say SoundClick started before BeatStars. TrackTrain, I don't know how old that is or how new it is, but
that's cool. No, just to recommend
dope
to people,
yeah,
like to.
These are dope platforms. I actually I think I'm about to get my first placement with like a semi like major artist. He's on a label, signed to RCA.
Oh.
And it was all because I promoted my beat on TrackTrain. You know, I like, me personally, I like TrackTrain the most because when you promote your beat, it'll be literally 5 beats are shown on the front page as soon as you go on, right? With BeatStars, when you promote your beat, it's kind of like in the algorithms, and sometimes it'll play and sometimes people will see it and click play.
Yeah, it's just in the mix.
But when you have only 5 beats, when you log into TrackTrain, when you go on their website, and those are the only 5s that are promoted, I think that's a better chance of getting your shit played. So mind you, the promotion is kind of pricey, but it's worked for me. You know, like
It's like paid off in terms of like the money.
It paid off, and it actually made me a little bit more profit too. So that was like cool to see that people were fucking with my shit. It was actually the beat that I promoted was the beat that you asked to use in your video.
In the giveaway.
Yeah, I promoted. That was my first beat that was the first time I ever promoted a beat. And I got a sale from it, and it was from this dude. He goes by Christopher Lewis. He's part of this like band called Next Town Down. But he reached out to me, and we're pretty fucking like he's cool, you know. Like
Yeah.
I didn't think like I could meet like. Here's how crazy it is actually. This guy follows
Mhm.
me on Instagram. You know, I message him like, "Yo, dude, like, thanks for the follow. Like, yo, like you have crazy voice. You know, like you're pretty good." And you know, this is after I got my beat sale, and I didn't connect the two together. That this person who followed me was
The person.
the person who bought my beat, and then like at a certain point, I was like, I looked at the name, and then I looked at the name of who bought my beat, or I looked at the email because you don't get to see the names of people, right? But you see the email, and I kind of had his name in the email, and I was like, wait a second, you're the person who bought my beat. And uh from there we just kind of hit it off, and like he gave me his number, we started talking, yada yada. And like
That's cool,
I would
man.
send him beats, like, you know, just like personal beats and stuff, and then he would send me back like shit with him singing on it. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like I'm like connecting with someone from a different part of the world, well, across the US specifically, but
Yeah.
you know, he's out in like California and shit. um
Yeah, it's still here, but that's a different part of
it's a
our world.
different world, yo. And
But that's
you
like
know,
that's the great benefit of
and
using these fucking platforms, man.
yeah, and from there, like we actually got like so close to the point where, or I mean, I don't know if we got so close to the point, but what I'm trying to say is he fucking flew out to New Jersey and we chilled.
Word.
All because of me promoting a beat on Track Train. That's
Promote a
literally it.
beat, you'll meet some
I
creatives.
yeah.
That's cool. I mean, that's the ideal outcome. Sales
Yeah.
and new relationships.
Yeah.
Like
It's
that's
possible, yo.
it's possible, you know, and it's good to talk on this too because promotion is such an important thing in our field, and sometimes artists forget that. Sometimes artists don't have a budget for it, or they forget to, you know, they focus on the video and then they don't have the promotional aspect sort of down and how much money they're going to invest into promotions.
Yeah.
But it's super important, you know, not just to get your work out there, but the new fans and the new relationships that could form off that. It's like definitely a blessing. So, you know, you might spend, I mean, how much did you spend? How much does it cost to promote on that website?
So
Was that
I
SoundClick
was
you said?
no, that's Track Train.
Track Train.
So I spent, it's around like 150 for 7 days, right?
7 days of pushing.
Of
Getting
pushing. So
pushed.
like set for 7 days, my beat was on the front page, right? And this is the first time I ever promoted. They have like 24-hour ones. They have like fucking like 72 hours and 7 days. Those are the only three options, right? And obviously the cheaper one is the 7 days.
Yeah.
But you know, through that, I sold, like he wasn't the only one I sold that beat to, or other beats, you know, like people like probably thought the first one or like the promoted beat was dope, and they go on my profile and they like
They find everything
they
else.
find everything else, and like maybe those were the ones they bought instead. Like I would have to look at all the analytics.
Yeah.
But you know, like
Analytics.
but putting 150 in, I got about like 200 back. So I was like, oh shit, that's like 50 in my pocket. You
Yeah.
know, like
And
I didn't have
that's
to,
especially good if you're just like
starting out,
starting
you know.
out.
And like I think it's great to test your products and like how they will react in a market. You know, I think that's important. You kind of have to take that risk. You
Yeah.
know? I think it's like heavily involved in that process where
No, I think that's dope.
the testing phase, you know, like there are people who study that stuff in marketing.
Do you
where
study your analytics? Like once the promotion's done, do
I
you
haven't
take a look at it and then you assess and like
Yeah, I do. I definitely. I haven't done it enough to get like a good, you know, understanding or grip of it. But I do know that like, you know, like say, like I promoted like 3 beats at the same time, right, on BeatStars, and I would see which one had the most engagement, and I would do like maybe like a $25 promotion on each of them, and whichever one had the most engagement, I would be like, okay, word, this is the one that I'm gonna push even further.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like my tactic, or you know how I would approach using these like websites if you're gonna pay for promotion,
Yeah.
for sure. Like
Yeah.
definitely, like you're gonna find like a money hitter or like a one that has great engagement within what people are like looking for or like trying to get or something like that, you know.
That's cool,
It's
man.
it's constantly trial and error.
Constantly trial and error. And at least like you try. At least you did the effort and you have an outcome to like study and then improve on next time.
Exactly.
That's the main thing. Like at least once you do it, you have a better understanding of like the outcome.
And what works.
And you just have to do it.
Yeah.
You just have to pay. You know, sometimes you got to pay the price. And I always say like for projects, there's got to be a budget, you know, for promotion and marketing. It's super important because you can have a great product, but if you have no marketing or promotional plan or budgeting, it could live and die online.
Yeah, it could just flop.
It could just flop. Brandon, I think we spoke about some cool shit.
Yeah.
I think we spoke about a lot of cool shit.
I actually learned a lot, like in terms of video production. So
that's awesome, man. That's all I want to do, man, is learn other fields, and at the same time, if I could provide some sort of information and education to the person I'm speaking to, that's a blessing.
Yeah,
that's a blessing. So now you know, yeah, there's
a lot of parallels. There's a lot of parallels within like each creative field.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's deeply rooted in collaboration at the end of the day. That both our processes where you have the artist that you have this conversation with in depth and you're creating this unique piece of art. Same case here. I have a conversation with the artist and then I have a conversation with the DP and then I have a conversation with, it gets more intricate when you build things out. Like there's the set decorator, like the production designer, you know, the more complicated. If you look at film credits, that's everyone has a thing, you know, that's what this whole like process is about. It's pretty amazing. And that's what I'm excited to get into, you know, like shooting in a space, walking into it, and I don't have to think about like exactly how I'm gonna utilize the space and what I need to add. There's a person that can walk in and be that person for me.
Yeah.
You know, there's like a role for everything in filmmaking. It's just finding the right people and having that budget. That's why the budget is so much connected to like the end product and quality of a project. Because if you hand somebody $200-$300, that's just gonna be one person with a gimbal, and then you know there's such a long process, like the planning, the shooting, and then editing. That's just one individual, a small like indie thing budget like that. You're gonna get something that's just gonna live and die online. And there's like the most important thing I think is like sort of what you're doing is number one, paying for promotion, but also focusing on quality, like what you're paying for promotion for, like what's the product like. If you're putting something out that is the same as like everything else that comes out or very low tier, that you're setting in stone a part of your branding and image, you know? So if something's like pretty shitty, people are gonna see you and be like, oh, yeah, oh cool, he's kind of like the rappers or the other artists that are kind of doing this shit, you know?
Yeah.
But if something drops that's like unique, eye-popping, which I would honestly say is like Desire, like that video was great.
Mm-hmm.
The music was so beautiful, the singing, the angel, it was all amazing, you know? The visuals matched the sound quality, and you see that catches your eye, you know? And now Angel has like, this is like a beautiful image to grow from and keep going from, you know, instead of like starting with some weird, just like unmotivated camera movements and like random locations cutting around.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, there's got to be like cohesion to it.
Much respect to like that whole production process, man. That's a lot.
Stressful.
It's a very stressful process.
It's very fun. I don't see myself doing anything else. But on that note, yo, it was great to have you, man. It was great to talk to you, and thank you for allowing me to come into your space.
Yeah.
Nomadic podcaster. All right, man.
All right.
Take care.
Signing
Peace,
out.
guys. Peace.
Peace.
I love you.
Eat
All right.
plants.